My dear friends, in the first reading we have St. Paul warning us about what we are fighting against. We know that we are in our day more engaged than ever in that cosmic battle, because the devil has found a foothold everywhere at this stage. And he can be right there in our homes. He can be coming out of the computer screen just like that, by imprudence on our part, or the television, or even actually the radio, because let's get this straight, my friends. To listen to RTE from morning until night is to listen also to what the devil wants you to hear. That conditioning which is against God's kingdom. Remember that too, with the general passive, you know what I mean by passive viewing of the television. One does not go into a library and devour all the books. One selects. One has to be mature and responsible in front of any screen. If one is passively taking in what happens to be there, then those demons are having a field day also in our mind. Even a soap opera is a conditioning. It's a world without God. But unfortunately it doesn't stop there. It's coming in even into, let's say it, church life. How many retreats are going on in the company of crystal balls or whatever? How many parish missions are going on with some kind of hidden agenda to promote certain things? And I noticed actually only last night, actually before the Blessed Sacrament of all places, because our parish had put on night vigil in front of the Blessed Sacrament exposed in the parish church itself, and I had myself in benediction, lovely people there, a very intense moment of prayer in union with what's going on in Rome, the Holy Father. And towards the end of it, I happened to look at the meditation on the readings of the Sunday given by the parish bulletin, that is, comes round by the Redemptorist, the one that comes to us as to many parishes in Ireland. And I happened to see again, in this very short page of commentary, that twice, not once but twice, once in the main body of the meditation, then once in the things to do, or whatever, or to learn, twice there was a hidden but clear jab. The other week it was about any time they can find anything about a woman in the gospel, they go on that track. Hinting, and you know what I mean. But this time it was this question of the equality of our sexual orientation. Now, you know what that means. It's a clever way of putting something, but it's there. It's there. Now, the gospel talks about unforgiveness, but it's also demonic, because that's one big way the devil gets into the soul. And it's very cool. You look around, it's everywhere. Unforgiveness. I read somewhere, I forget which saint it was now, it was either Philip Neri or Curevas or John Bosco, one of these great ones. There was one of their, actually young men, quite young, who had died. And it turned out that he'd not made it. And the reason was this. He'd gone through his Christian life and he'd never handled this issue. His confessions never handled it. He had bitterness in his soul, unforgiveness. There was hatred there, and it went with him into the beyond. In Ireland, one actually has that intuition that it's going on even sometimes in a parish setting. It wouldn't happen here. But there would be situations where that side of the family would not talk to that side of the family, and they would not even exchange the sign of peace at last. They go through for years and years, we don't talk, full stop. Now, unforgiveness hits us all. Why? We are hurt, let's face it. Things really hurt. And if we're living with the same people all the time, it can be quite difficult to handle, whether it's a marriage or a monastery. It's the same dynamic at work, handling our reaction to emotions. I think that men, on the whole, have a safety valve on that one which sometimes women don't. They don't sometimes go so deep in these things. Women for years and years are festering. They might not say much, but it's there. Whereas men get it out and it's finished, tendentially now. And also they're able sometimes to stand back and have a good laugh. It's a different psychology, the man, but one sees it between male and female communities of religious. Now, you look at a person. Look at his eyes, his forehead. You can see, you can read a lot in a person's expressions. You can see whether he's at peace, whether he's in joy, whether he's forgiving, or whether there's an issue. Because people, bit by bit, because they're psychosomatic beings, look what they are, and they can't hide it. You can see it. The Lord has given us ways and means of handling forgiveness. In the very heart of our Christian prayer, we have that reminder. Forgive us our sins as we forgive. And one time when I was a child, I asked Ma'am why that was there. It seemed not like the other bits of the Lord's Prayer. And she just said to me simply, it was a reminder. And it's true. The Lord wanted it there. And do you know that in the two forms of the Our Father, the long solemn one of Matthew and the shorter, more personal one of Luke, that bit is there both times. Luke has maintained that parallelism. And the Lord is actually putting that there, not only as a reminder, but yes, as a condition. Precisely this gospel. And did you notice that it was the very same expression, that plea, that same act of going on his knees and pleading the same prayer exactly, the very same words, which happened in the first and the second case. And look how different the second case was. A tiny sum compared with that huge sum. And then he goes, throttling him. I want my pound of flesh. And it can be ours too. Why should something outside ourselves be more important than the quality of ourselves? People hang on to land or onto some pretended right. That's my right. I'm in the right. And their quality of soul is lost. Their joy is lost for something outside themselves. Who cares what people say about me or think about me? As long as he knows. It's a test, isn't it? And why should I be so attached to something less than he? There are no pockets in a shroud. Now, there are other ways also of healing pain and unforgiveness. One simple one is this. The Lord has given us, different from animals. Animals have a certain affectivity in their own way, but they can't actually do what we can. We can use our body to express warmth. We can, with a simple gesture, let a person feel heat and healing. Look at this. You have seen it before, some of you, but not all of you. I framed it some years ago because I liked it. That lassie with her bell hat which portrays the time, it goes back to the 30s, has just won a prize with her dog. And she's kind of proud of him, even though he's much bigger than she is. And there it says, the caption is, a hug is the shortest distance between friends. Remember that. It's not complicated. It applies to every single one here. And it's much easier than a huge demonstration of dramatic penitence. Just a hug says it all. I remember my nephew one time, he made a blunder when he was learning to drive, and he scratched the car, and because he was able to cook, he made in Welsh a cacen sorry, a cake to say sorry to Mam. That was a nice way. He just wrote sorry on it. But there are others too. The Lord has given us human beings one thing which no other part of humanity has. I wonder whether the angels have it. I suppose they must have it in some form, because the Lord has it himself. You know why, don't you? Anything that we have has come from somewhere. So if we have it, the Lord has it too. It's, yes, the sense of humour. And it's far better and more efficacious to not make huge demonstrations, but to have just that, bring it down with a little witty comment, which re-establishes the balance of things. If it's not there in a convent, it's big time trouble. And some of the most brilliant members of our human team on this earth have had a fantastic sense of humour. Do you know, even Shakespeare had it. We have the great tragedies, Macbeth, Hamlet, Othello, and so on. We have also the comedies, Midsummer Night's Dream, and so on. And these have a happy ending, and often they have very humorous bits inside. Just this weekend I was thinking about this issue of the blessing that we have of healing in the sense of humour. And out of the blue, something which I wasn't prepared for hit me. I was fishing for something else because I had a youth mass yesterday in the Hermitage. And this came into the thing that I was looking at just by chance. And it was very interesting because you had, in a sense, across a huge scale of years and time, three bits of humanity, all genii in their own way, using this and interchanging across the centuries. I was looking for a song I was preaching on for these young people yesterday about relationships. We can work it out. And I found it on YouTube so that the guitarist could sing it. And there, before it came up, a live recording it would seem, came up this other bit, part of it, and very well done. I was in stitches. It was hilarious. It was Peter Sellers, a great actor, but one of the great ones, who was, wait for it, sitting on a throne with kind of organ music in the background, very solemnly, dressed as a king, and in his Shakespearean mode, using the words of, "It's been a hard day's night." And it was so clever that it just made you bend in two. That's real genius, meeting two different people but using the same thing. Because the Beatles too say what you like, they have their own genius. But then, it didn't finish there. You've got on YouTube as well, wait for it, these who are performing Shakespeare. And very cleverly. It's actually Troilus and Cressida, I believe. And human wit is crossing the centuries and making people still jerk after centuries of persons being dead. Because the Lord has meant that healing for our pain. Use it, my friends, because also it can be the sacrament of bringing things down and showing what matters and what matters less. Because the great tragedy in our life is this. In unforgiveness, something, yes, it might have its importance, but it's become disproportionate. And often as we go through life, that is our problem. We haven't got the correct perspective on things. One thing has blocked out all the rest. Think about these things, my friends, because it's not worth it going through life making a central issue out of the periphery. On that level, I just conclude with what we're doing this morning. We're in union with the Holy Father in Rome. He is, on this day, the 13th of October, handing over humanity to the Immaculate Heart. I believe he has the statue from Fatima there. And here's a moment to think about these things. Our Lady, from her glorious throne, is watching what we're at on earth. All these demons around and what we're perhaps going to do for ourselves if we're not careful. I wonder what will happen in 2017, 100 years after Fatima. But this was the day when that culminating miracle took place, when the sun came close to the earth, they thought. And it was, remember, some kind of hint that there is perhaps something like that going to hit us. We don't know, but there was fright and terror when that happened. The sun is based on nuclear power after all. It's fission, isn't it? It kind of a huge amount of energy coming out of there. So what's going to happen, we don't know. But Our Lady did say that eventually this consecration would be made, but it would be too late. Russia will be converted and so on. But she did ask for one thing, and that I want to leave with you. One thing she did say each time she appeared in Fatima, each of the 6 times. You know what it is, don't you? One very simple thing which everyone here can do and manage, no matter how busy is the day. It's 5 decades of the Holy Rosary. She did not ask for a whole load of things. She did not even ask for daily Mass, because we can't always manage it if we're, whatever it might be, in an impossible situation. That, on the contrary, we can all do, from the Pope to the simplest child. I noticed yesterday, with all these people with me yesterday in the chapel, all kinds of people, great and small, even travelling people, that was one thing we all could do, the Rosary. Very simple. And a very sublime prayer, because if one goes into mode, one is sustaining an atmosphere of scriptural meditation and consecrating on a presence. Think of these things, my friends. It's there. And I just want to finish now with, in union with the Holy Father, inviting you to put yourselves on your knees now, and we shall give ourselves also, and the whole of this country, to our Blessed Lady, asking that she will protect us, for she is our Queen. Now this church is dedicated to her, as is the other church in the parish, Waterstown. The other one is to Our Lady of the Assumption. This one is to the Nativity of Our Lady, the feast that is also very important to the Olivetans. That's their patronal feast. Now, we therefore can watch her present, as it were, before us in that stained glass window, because a church which is dedicated to Our Lady doesn't have a Lady altar, but the whole church is under her protection. So there is that modern, but yet quite dignified statue, not statue, stained glass window of Our Lady there, praying over us, and as it were, holding us beneath her mantle, a huge mantle which spreads over the whole globe. And there we are beside her little children. So in that optic now, we come to her, and we give ourselves over to her as our mother. We unite ourselves to what the Holy Father is doing at this moment in time in Rome, with all those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pilgrims, and those perhaps millions across the world, united with him through the television and all the means of communication. And we now renew our dedication to our Blessed Lady, and we consecrate ourselves, mind and body, to her Immaculate Heart, together with this land in which we live, and the whole of Europe, and all the communist, ex-communist countries, Russia and China, and all these places that have denied the presence of God for so many years, and the whole of this planet and the whole of humanity, asking that she will reign over us and protect us from all these demonic attacks of which we've just been thinking now, knowing that she sees well what is threatening humanity and is wanting to protect us and shield us. So we ask in turn that she will spare us from nuclear war, from what might threaten humanity, and all the attacks of the evil one at our time. We ask for protection also for the unborn in this land and throughout the world. We ask that she will shield our families from all that might contaminate them, and our souls from all that might infest them. We ask for purity of heart and life. We ask that she will give us all the graces that we will need through her intercession and prayer before the throne of grace itself, to do exactly as she would have us do as her faithful children, until we see her and meet her in the end, together with her Son, who, with the Father and the Holy Spirit, lives and reigns, one God, forever and ever.